Hi students, these are 12th classes. Which topic is really going on is commonly called as principles of ecology. This is 6th chapter. In the 6th chapter, which topic is now discussing the topic is commonly called as xenobiotes. So what are the definitions of xenophytes? It is commonly classified as the plants which are living in dry or xeric condition. What is it called? The plants are living in dry or xeric condition, that is commonly called as xenophytes. Based on the nature or based on the habitat nature, xenophytes can be classified as two types. Which basis? Based on habitats. What the first type is commonly called as physical dryness. Second thing, physiological dryness. So what are the definitions of physical dryness? The plants are living in dry or xeric condition. But here, what is the nature of physical dryness habitat commonly called as? The plants are which present to dry condition, but water is not sufficient. Water is not sufficient. Why here water is not sufficient in the plant is commonly called as? In this physical dryness, the plants are unable to bind the water molecule. So water is not sufficient, but what amount of water is there? That kinds of water not is plant is uptake, because the soil particle will not be possible binding nature. Due to loss of binding nature, the water molecule cannot uptake for presence of the plants. In addition, one more reason the physical rain is commonly called as low rate of rainfall. Those are the three reasons the plants are make regarding what physical dryness habitats. Second thing, what is called physiological dryness? In this habitat, water is available sufficient amount, but the plants are unable to uptake. Why? Water is available to be moved, but what is the reason will not be uptake when commonly called as? You know that these are plants. This is a root system. Here is water molecules available. Which region is uptake the water molecules commonly called as root hairs. So between the root hairs, capillary spaces are generally absent. So what is called capillary space? Between the water molecule, they can available space are there. That space is commonly called as capillary space. But in physiological dryness is absence of capillary spaces. In the absence of capillary spaces, even sufficient amount of water is available, the plant is will not possible to be uptake. So that's the thing, physical dryness as well as physiological dryness. What are the examples of those kinds of plants? That's a commonly called as plants of acidic soil and the salty. So salty region, acidic soil, those kinds of two kinds of habitats it's are generally appear. The next one commonly called as, these are things it can be classified xerophagic plants based on the habitat. Now the xerophagic plants can be classified as three types based on selective adaptation. So based on the selective adaptation, xerophagic plants can be classified into three types. Namely, first one, ephemerals. Second one, succulent plants. Third one, non-succulent plants. So these are the three types of plants that can be classified xerophagics based on selective adaptation. The first one, ephemerals. Ephemerals is also called drought endovers or drought escapers, because those plants generally escape from drought. How to tell about it in Tamil commonly called as Varachi. So that we say commonly called as ephemerals are also called drought endovers or drought escapers. So what are the characteristic features are found in ephemerals? First one, these plants are commonly called as complete the life cycle for short period. How much period they can be survival life is commonly called as, it's all applicable to only one season. So the life is completed within a year. That's why ephemeral plant is also called, it is not true xerophagites. What are the plant is example for ephemerals commonly called as argemone, then mullugu, then tribulus, then caprosia. Those are the plants is an examples of ephemerals. Can I go to the second one? Succulent plants or succulent xerophagites. What is that? Succulent. The plants, it is generally fleshy. Why it can become under fleshy mean commonly called as? These kinds of plant, it must be stored some amount of water in the plants. That nature it to be say is a succulent. Succulent plant is also called drought enduring plants. What is that? Succulent plant is also called what that? Drought enduring, that's called adaptable. What are characteristics characteristic feature that can be applicable to succulent plant or drought endemic plant is commonly called as. These plants store some amount of water. Which condition it can store some amount of water during dry condition. This is the first thing. Second thing, succulent plants having some adaptive character. Succulent plants having some adaptive character. That adaptive character, when it's developing, in commonly called as during extreme dry condition. If it is not faced as an extreme dry condition, the plants cannot develop such an adaptive character. When that adaptive character is developing, when the situation it must be go to extreme dry, that a condition only they can select some adaptive characteristic features. Then, what are the examples of succulent plant is commonly called as bryophyllum. You know that Tamil katti potal kutti podu. Then begonia. Then zizibus. Then caparis. Those are all examples of commonly called as succulent plants. Can I go to that last one? Non-succulent plant. Are also called non-succulent xerophytes, or also called true xerophytes, are also called true drought resisting plants. There are so many kinds of subspecials they can available. Okay. What the characteristic feature is found non-succulent xerophytes or non-succulent plants or a true drought resistance plant. First one. These plants which much adapted to both external dryness and internal dryness. What do you say? These plants face to trouble both external dryness and internal dryness. So dry situation they will be available is not only external and internal. Both external dryness and internal dryness, those kinds of plants it must be adapted. Second thing, comparing succulent, they are having some adaptive characteristic feature, but non-succulent they can be possess many adaptive characters they can develop. Why comparing succulent they can develop more adaptive mean? These are store some amount of water, but these kinds of plant there is no present any kinds of water. That to be say, these kinds of plant they can develop many adaptive character during dry condition. What are the examples of non-succulent plants? Casuarina. Do you know in Tamil? Saukku. Then asparagus. Then third one, musuka. In Tamil, musukai. Those are the things. It is examples commonly called as non-succulent xerophytes or non-succulent plants or true xerophytes or true drought resistance plants. The next one we are going to discuss about what do you mean commonly called as trichophilous plants. What is the meaning commonly called as trichophilous plant mean? Some of the xerophytic plants, in especially stem and leaves, which may be possess dense hairs, where the dense hairs are available in the structure of stem and leaves of some xerophytes. Is not occur all the xerophytes. Some of the xerophytes, the dense hairs are occur, the structure of stem and leaves are commonly called as trichophilous plants. What are the examples commonly called as? Maximum members of Cucurbitaceae family. In Cucurbitaceae family member, especially to be present, Cucurbitas, Cucurbita pepo, then Cucurbita maxima. So those are commonly called as trichophilous plants. So after the completion of trichophilous plants, can I go to discuss about like this? Morphological adaptations of xerophytic plants. For morphological adaptation, which topics now it can be classified is in root. In root, what are the morphological adaptations? What are called morphological? That's called external. Or what are the external adaptation that must be present xerophytic plants? The first one, root system is well developed. What do you say? Root system is well developed than shoot system. That is a main morphological adaptation in the root. So what do you say? Root system is well developed in the shoot system. Second thing, root cap and root hairs also well developed. If root cap and root hairs are not well developed, xerophytic plants will not possible to fleshy during tree condition. You know that. Did you see in the roadside or in your land? The land is much dry, but here and there some of the plants are much fleshy because of those are xerophytic. Those plants are well developed root system, their shoot. Then in addition, that kind of plant it may be possess well developed root cap as well as root hairs. So those two is commonly called as morphological adaptation in root. Can I go to the next one? Morphological adaptation in stem. So what are the adaptation they may be present in stem? First of all, in xerophytic plants, the stem is hard and woody. What do you say? The stem hard and woody. It may be aerial or in underground. So the stem may be the aerial which are present above the soil, or it may be stem which is present to below the soil. So stem is hard and woody. It may be aerial or underground. That's the first thing. First adaptation stem. Second thing, both stem and leaves cover hair-like structure. That I am already saying. If stem and leaves having hair-like structure, that a plant is commonly called as trichophilous plants. So that is a capability. Third thing, what is that called? Pillow clad. You know that. What does the pillow clad mean? Some of the xerophytes, all internodes became converted into fleshy leaf-like structure. You know that? Example, Opensia. You know that Opensia? This is a pillow clad. So actually, this is a commonly called a stem, but the structures look like leaf. Instead of leaf characteristic feature, here who had to be carried is commonly called a stem. Such a modification is commonly called as a pillow clad. So it tell about to shortly mean all internodes became converted into fleshy leaf-like structure. All the internodes became converted into fleshy leaf-like structure. Not is a definite as a leaf. Its structures look like leaf. So instead of stem leaf cactus feature, stem it must be carried out. That is commonly called as pillow clad. Example, Opensia. Fourth one, cladode. So what does that called cladode mean? Single or occasionally two internodes is converted into fleshy leaf-like structure. What is here? Here all internodes converted to fleshy leaf-like structure is called pillow clad. What is that cladode? Single or occasionally two internodes became converted into fleshy leaf-like structure, that is commonly called as cladode. Example, asparagus. In Tamil, you know, Tannir Vittan Kilangu. You know the structure, you know? That is leaf-like structure. Can I go to the last one? What is that called? Pillow. Pillows generally occur Acacia species or Acacia melanoxylon. These species are much available in Australia, also commonly called as Australian acacia tissue. What is special characteristic which is commonly called as? This is a stem, it is a branch. Usually they can be possess compound leaves. That is commonly called as petiole. What do I call petiole? Stalk of the leaf is commonly called as petiole. Here, when the plants it should be attaining dry condition, all compound leaves are far off. It's a filter. They can present simply what that petiole is there. But for the survival of the plant, this petiole became developed look like leaf-like structure due to swollen, or the petiole became swollen that will be act as look like leaf-like structure. It's a greeny. So instead of the leaf characteristic feature, petiole is done. Such a modification is commonly called as below. The example commonly called as Acacia melanosa. Then, so this is a commonly called as morphological adaptation in stem. Can I go to the next one? Morphological adaptation in leaves. So what are that adaptation in that are occur in the leaves? First one, leaves are generally leathery or shiny. What do you say? Leaves are generally leathery or it's shiny. Due to shiny appearance, that reflects light as well as heat. What do you say? The leaves are generally leathery or shiny. That is nature. The leaves that are reflect light as well as heat. Second thing, some of the plant specimens such as Euphorbia, Zizibus, Caparis, those plants, stipules. You know what I mean commonly called stipule, you know? There's a stem, there's a leaf, there's a petiole. At the base of petiole, where the leaf-like structure is commonly called as stipule. Here comes the point. Euphorbia species, Zizibus, this is called Yellandai, Caparis or Caparidis member. Stipules are modified into spines. That is simple. Euphorbia, Zizibus, Caparis, the stipules are modified into spines. The last one, whole leaves are modified into spine. You know which species? I'm already indicating, you know. Opuntia. Whole leaves are modified into spine. Let's call example Opuntia, or otherwise known as whole leaves are modified into scales. So what to say? Whole leaves are modified into spine in Opuntia. Whole leaves are modified into scale. Example, asparagus. So those are the things. Morphological adaptation in leaves. Next one I am going to discuss about anatomical adaptation in xerophytes. What are the anatomy? What are anatomical study of internal structure? So if you take a cross section, you keep under the microscope, you got to observe what are the adaptation that must be occur internal structure of xerophites. First of all, multi-layer epidermis are there. In general, they can be present single layer, but here multi-layer epidermis are there. So multi-layered epidermis with hard and thick cuticles are there. So in general, single layer is there, that layer responsible for prevent loss of transpiration. But here, multi-layer epidermis. Along with thick cuticles are there. That cuticle is made up of a special waxy substance, cutin. So multi-layer epidermis along with the cutin is there. That kind of structural adaptation that responsible reduce loss of water during transpiration. This is the first anatomical adaptation. Second thing, hypodermis well developed. What do you say? Hypodermis is what I call hypodermis. A layer of sclerenchymatous cells are occur below the epidermis. So hypodermis it can be made up of sclerenchymatous cells or chlorenchymatous cells. But in xerophyte species, hypodermis it's made up of sclerenchymatous cells. This is second adaptation. Third one, sunken stomata is there. What do you mean commonly called as sunken stomata? That commonly called as, you know that upper epidermis and lower epidermis, these are commonly called as polycide parenchyma. This is the lower epidermis. Here, many hair-like outgrowths there present. That is commonly called as sunken stomata. Sunken stomata which are generally present in xerophytic species around. And it is not present hytophytes as well as mesophytes. But in addition, the sunken stomata it's also present in hairs. The hairs are available in the pit. This is commonly called as a pit. So once want to say, sunken stomata which are present in the lower epidermis It's having a well developed pit, the pit along with the hairs are there. This is a characteristic feature. Then fourth one characteristic feature, scotoactive stomata is there. What are they called? Scotoactive stomata. In general, stomata will be opening during daytime, closing during nighttime. It's a normal process to be going on. In order to avoiding transpiration or in order to prevent the rate of transpiration, the stomata opening and closing it's zigzag. How to mean? Opening during night, closing during daytime. What are the plants? It's opening during night, it's closing during daytime. That is stomata is commonly called as scotoactive stomata. Scotoactive stomata which are generally present in European species. Then, for in the structural view, mesophils is differentiated. What they call mesophil? The tissue which are present upper epidermis and lower epidermis, which are differentiated into palisade parenchyma, then spongy parenchyma. But xeropedic plants, when you take a section, keep on the microscope, such a differentiation there will be occur. Then one more thing. Xeropedic species commonly called as vascular bundle covered with many layer of bundle sheath. So what are called bundle sheath? Vascular bundle surrounded by a sheath of layer is commonly called as bundle sheath. But here, that a bundle sheath which must be covered by many layers. That is one more characteristic features of anatomical adaptation in xerophids. Then, this is a special characteristic feature in the anatomical adaptation. For example, I am already discussed about like this. Epimerals, succulent and non-succulent. But here, succulent plants having water storing region. The water storing region where is generally situated into upper epidermis. These are commonly called as water storing region. This is commonly called as upper epidermis, followed by palisade parenchyma, this is commonly called as spongy parenchyma. So for here, succulent plants, water storing regions are generally occur only in upper epidermis. So these are the things is a characteristic, anatomical characteristic features in xerophed. The last one, physiological adaptation. For the structural view, what are the adaptation they may present? The first one. Most of the physiological process what are the physiological process? Photosynthesis, respiration, transpiration. These are commonly called as physiological process. But most of the physiological process who are designed or who are regulated, that's commonly called as due to reduce the rate of transpiration. So rate of the transpiration that's are designed or regulate the rate of physiological process. The second thing, life cycle is completed within a year or in a group only one season. That a plant is commonly called as baby mirrors. So those are adaptation. It is generally occurring xerophytic plants. The coming class it must be discussed about mesophytes as well as echologites. Thank you.